In the war room at United Earth Command, Captain Lena Hawkins stared at the holographic display with a grim expression. Red dots, indicating the positions of the Crux Armada, advanced inexorably towards Earth. The alien invaders had cut a swath of destruction through humanity's outer colonies, and now they were poised to strike at the heart of human civilization. Lena's jaw clenched as she studied the display. The situation was dire. Earth's defenses were formidable, but the Crux possessed advanced technology and overwhelming numbers. Projections showed that unless something changed, humanity would be facing extinction within a matter of months. A chime sounded, indicating an incoming transmission. Lena straightened her uniform and turned to face the view screen. "Patch it through," she ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing an alien figure. It was humanoid in shape, but its skin was a pale blue and its eyes were a vibrant purple. The alien spoke, its voice translated by the computer. "Greetings, Captain Hawkins. I am Ambassador Zoran of the Zephyr Confederacy." Lena's eyebrows rose in surprise. The Zephyr were a reclusive species, rarely engaging with other races. Their sudden appearance now, in humanity's darkest hour, was unexpected to say the least. "Ambassador Zoran," Lena replied cautiously, "this is an unexpected pleasure. To what do we owe the honor of your communication?" The Zephyr ambassador's expression was difficult to read, but Lena thought she detected a hint of resignation in its eyes. "Captain Hawkins, I will be frank. The Crux are not just a threat to humanity. They pose a danger to the entire galaxy. The Zephyr Confederacy has been monitoring their activity, and we have come to a difficult conclusion. We cannot defeat them alone." Lena's heart raced. Was the ambassador suggesting what she thought it was? "What are you proposing, Ambassador?" Zoran's reply was direct. "An alliance, Captain Hawkins, between the Zephyr Confederacy and the United Earth Command. Our technology and your strategic position in this sector of the galaxy could give us a fighting chance against the Crux." Lena's mind whirled with the implications. An alliance with the Zephyr could change everything. But could they be trusted? Humanity knew so little about them. She chose her words carefully. "Ambassador, your proposal is intriguing. But surely you understand my hesitation. The Zephyr Confederacy has had little contact with humanity. How can we be sure that your intentions are genuine?" Zoran's reply was solemn. "Captain Hawkins, I understand your reservations, but I assure you the threat of the Crux is very real. They will not stop with Earth. They seek to dominate the entire galaxy. An alliance between our peoples may be the only way to stop them." Lena considered this. The stakes were too high to dismiss the offer outright. "I will need to consult with my superiors," she said finally. "But I believe they will see the wisdom in your proposal. Humanity is facing its greatest challenge. We cannot afford to turn away potential allies." The Zephyr ambassador nodded. "I understand, Captain Hawkins. But please, time is of the essence. The Crux will not wait." As the transmission ended, Lena stared at the now blank screen, her mind racing. An alliance with the Zephyr could change the course of the war, but it would also mean trusting an alien race that humanity barely knew. She turned back to the holographic display, watching the red dots of the Crux Armada inch ever closer to Earth. Whatever reservation she had, one thing was clear: humanity was running out of options. The Zephyr alliance could be their last, best hope for survival. With a deep breath, Lena straightened her shoulders and strode out of the war room. She had a report to make and a recommendation to give. The future of humanity hung in the balance. The alliance between humanity and the Zephyr was tentative at best. Years of isolation and mistrust could not be erased overnight. But with the Crux threat looming, both sides knew they had to find a way to work together. Lena found herself at the forefront of this uneasy partnership. As the captain of Earth's most advanced warship, the UES Intrepid, she was tasked with coordinating the defense of the solar system alongside the Zephyr fleet. It was a task easier said than done. The Zephyr technology was advanced, but it was also unfamiliar. Integrating it with human systems was proving to be a challenge. Tempers flared as human engineers struggled to adapt to the alien tech. At the heart of these tensions was Rykar, the chief engineer of the Zephyr flagship. He was brilliant, but also abrasive, with a tendency to dismiss human technology as primitive. Lena found herself constantly mediating between him and her own engineering crew. "Captain Hawkins," Rykar said in exasperation, "your systems are too limited. If we're going to stand a chance against the Crux, we need to completely upgrade your ship's energy matrices." Lena took a deep breath, trying to maintain her patience. "Rykar, I understand your concern, but our engineers are working around the clock to integrate your technology. We're making progress." Rykar snorted. "Progress? Is that what you call it? At this rate, the Crux will be at your doorstep before we even have a working prototype." Lena's reply was cut off by the sudden blare of alarms. The ship's AI, its voice eerily calm amidst the cacophony, announced, "Alert! Crux incursion detected. 3 ships have breached the outer defensive perimeter." Lena and Rykar exchanged a look. Theory was about to be put into practice, ready or not. On the bridge, Lena barked out orders, coordinating the response with the efficiency born of years of training. The Zephyr ships, sleek and silver, moved into formation beside the bulkier human vessels. The first Crux ship came into view, its angular black hull seeming to absorb the light around it. It opened fire without preamble, lances of red energy slicing through space. The human ships returned fire, their weapons seeming to bounce harmlessly off the Crux ship's shields. But then the Zephyr ships joined the fray, their advanced weaponry cutting through the enemy's shields like a hot knife through butter. For a moment, it seemed like the tide was turning. But then 2 more Crux ships arrived, and the battle descended into chaos. In the heart of the Intrepid, Rykar worked furiously, trying to keep the ship's systems operational as the battle raged around them. Lena joined him, her hands flying over the unfamiliar controls. "Reroute power from the secondary systems," Rykar shouted over the din of battle. "We need to boost the shields." Lena did as he instructed, marveling at the Zephyr technology's responsiveness. For a moment, she forgot their differences, forgot the mistrust between their species. In that moment, they were just 2 engineers working together to keep their ship and their crew alive. The battle was fierce, but brief. The combination of human resilience and Zephyr technology proved too much for the Crux ships. They retreated, limping back into the darkness of space. In the aftermath, as damage reports flooded in and the wounded were tended to, Lena sought out Rykar. She found him in the engineering bay, his hands still busy with repairs. "Rykar," she said softly, "thank you. We couldn't have done this without you." The Zephyr engineer looked up, his purple eyes meeting her gaze. For the first time, Lena saw something other than disdain there. It was respect, hard-won and precious. "No, Captain Hawkins," Rykar replied. "We did this together. Your crew's bravery and resilience is impressive." It was a small moment, but a significant one. A first step on the long road to trust and true alliance. As the Intrepid and its Zephyr allies set about repairs and preparations for the next inevitable battle, Lena allowed herself a moment of hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, humanity and the Zephyr could forge something stronger than either of them alone. Perhaps together, they could hold back the darkness that threatened to engulf them all. In the weeks that followed, the alliance between humanity and the Zephyr grew stronger. Rykar and his team worked tirelessly to upgrade Earth's defenses, while Lena and her crew honed their skills in joint operations with the Zephyr fleet. But the Crux were relentless. They struck at human and Zephyr outposts with increasing frequency and ferocity. It was clear that a decisive blow was needed to turn the tide of the war. In a secure war room on Earth, Lena and Rykar pored over strategic maps, looking for a way to strike at the heart of the Crux offensive. "Their main fleet is heavily defended," Lena mused, pointing at a cluster of red dots on the map. "A direct assault would be suicide." Rykar nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. Then his eyes widened. What about here? He pointed to a seemingly empty region of space. Lena frowned. There's nothing there. Exactly, Riker said, a hint of excitement in his voice. Which is why it's the perfect place for a hidden supply base. Look at the Crux fleet movements. They consistently pass through this sector before major offensives. If we could locate and destroy their supply base, we could cripple their ability to wage sustained attacks. Lena finished, her own excitement growing. Riker, this could work, but finding a hidden base in the vastness of space, it's like looking for a needle in a cosmic haystack. Riker grinned. Leave that to me. Zephyr long-range sensors are highly advanced. If there's a base out there, we'll find it. The plan was quickly put into motion. The Intrepid, accompanied by a squadron of Zephyr ships, set out to scour the suspected sector. For days, they searched, sensors straining against the void of space. And then, just as doubt began to creep in, they found it. A massive Crux supply base, hidden in the shadow of a dead moon. The assault was swift and brutal. Lena led the charge, the Intrepid's weapons cutting through the base's defenses. Riker, in a feat of technical brilliance, managed to hack into the base's systems, disabling its shields and weapons. In a matter of hours, the base was reduced to a field of floating debris. The cost was high. Several human and Zephyr ships were lost in the battle. But the blow to the Crux war effort was immeasurable. In the aftermath of the battle, as the Intrepid limped back to Earth for repairs, Lena found Riker in the observation deck. The Zephyr engineer was staring out at the stars, a pensive look on his face. You know, he said without turning, when this war began, I didn't think we stood a chance. The Crux seemed unstoppable. But you humans, your resilience, your determination, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. Lena stood beside him, following his gaze out into the infinite expanse of space. We're fighting for our survival, Riker, for the right to exist. That's a powerful motivator. Riker turned to her, his eyes intense. It's more than that. Your species has a spark, a fire that refuses to be extinguished. It's inspiring. Lena felt a surge of pride at his words. We couldn't have done this without the Zephyr, she said. Your technology, your knowledge, it's been invaluable. Riker shook his head. Technology alone doesn't win wars, Captain. It's the spirit behind it. And that's something that humanity has in abundance. As they stood there, two beings from worlds light years apart, united in purpose and respect, Lena felt a sense of hope that she hadn't felt in a long time. The war was far from over, but for the first time, victory seemed not just possible, but tangible. The Crux had underestimated humanity. They had underestimated the power of an alliance forged in the fires of desperation. And that mistake, Lena vowed, would be their undoing. The success of the joint human-Zephyr operation marked a turning point in the war. The destruction of the Crux supply base had thrown the invaders into disarray, buying precious time for Earth and its allies to shore up their defenses. But Lena knew that the respite was temporary. The Crux were far from defeated, and they would be back, more vicious than ever. The final battle was yet to come. In the months that followed, Lena and Riker worked tirelessly to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. The Intrepid underwent extensive upgrades, its hull reinforced with Zephyr alloys, its weapon systems augmented with alien tech. The ship became a symbol of the Alliance, a fusion of human resilience and Zephyr ingenuity. And then, the day they had all been dreading arrived. The Crux Armada, a vast swarm of ships that seemed to darken the very stars, entered the solar system. Their target was clear: Earth, the heart of human resistance. The battle that followed was unlike anything Lena had ever experienced. The sheer scale of it was staggering. Ships clashed like titans, their weapons painting the void with fire. The Intrepid was at the heart of it, dancing through the chaos, its weapons never falling silent. At Lena's side, Riker worked miracles, coaxing every last ounce of power from the ship's systems. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with, a perfect synergy of skill and determination. But even their best efforts seemed like a drop in the ocean against the sheer might of the Crux. Ship after ship fell, human and Zephyr alike, until it seemed like all hope was lost. And then, in a moment that would be remembered for generations, the tide turned. A fleet of ships, bearing the markings of a dozen alien races, dropped out of hyperspace and joined the fray. The Galactic Alliance, long fractured by mistrust and isolation, had united against the common threat. With renewed vigor, the Allied forces surged forward. The Crux, caught off guard by this sudden show of unity, began to falter. And then, in a final desperate gambit, they turned their weapons on Earth itself. But Lena was ready. With Rykar at her side, she executed a maneuver that would become legend. The Intrepid, shields pushed to the limit, placed itself between Earth and the Crux doomsday weapon. The ship took the full brunt of the blast, its hull buckling, its systems screaming in protest. But it held long enough for the rest of the fleet to converge on the Crux flagship and end the threat once and for all. In the aftermath of the battle, as the wreckage of 1,000 ships drifted through the silent void, Lena and Rykar stood once again on the observation deck of the Intrepid. The ship, battered but unbroken, was a testament to the strength of their alliance. "We did it," Lena whispered, her voice hoarse from hours of shouting commands. "We won." Rykar placed a hand on her shoulder, a gesture of comfort and camaraderie. "No, Captain. Humanity won. The galaxy won. This victory belongs to all of us." Lena nodded, too exhausted to speak, but in her heart she knew he was right. The war had been won not just by humanity or the Zephyr, but by all those who had stood against the darkness. In the days and weeks that followed, as the Allies worked to rebuild what had been lost, Lena found herself at the forefront of a new era. The Galactic Alliance, once a distant dream, was now a reality. And humanity, once isolated and vulnerable, now stood tall among the stars. As for Lena and Rykar, their bond, forged in the fires of war, would never be broken. They had started as reluctant allies, but they had become something more. Friends, partners, the living embodiment of what could be achieved when differences were put aside for the greater good. And as Lena looked out at the stars, she knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven itself. It had earned its place in the cosmos. And with allies like the Zephyr at its side, there was no limit to what it could achieve. The future, once so dark and uncertain, now shone with the promise of a new dawn. And Lena, the woman who had helped to make it all possible, smiled.